the biggest signing of the day. Jason Zucker, 1 year, $5 million. I guess when I approach this, well, I should preface this by saying, would have liked that contract last year. Really would have liked it. I know the Sabres were after him last year. Honestly wouldn't be surprised if it was the same deal handed out. I don't know. It's just kind of funny looking at it now. So Jason Zucker. So this is a player who has had a good NHL track record and has previously been a top six forward in the NHL. Now he's 32 years old. He does have an injury history. He split time between two teams last year. This is not your slam dunk top six edition, and it better not be your slam dunk top six edition in the minds of the general manager.
I don't know,
Now,
man, as the days go on.
now, Jason Zucker, he has 5 20-goal seasons under his belt. He's got 1 30-goal season under his belt. And just 2 years ago, he had 27 goals and 48 points with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Last season, only 14 goals. He had 25 points in 51 games with the Arizona Coyotes. Gets traded to Nashville and was mostly in a fourth-line role, which I don't think he's going to be placed in Buffalo. So a little bit of a scoring dip, but the impacts seem fairly average to above average. This is not a bad player. Not at all. This is, by all intents and purposes, a good middle six option. But then we get into digging a little bit deeper into it. And what I mean by that is, what does it mean for the rest of the Sabres, their forward makeup? Because we'll get into the bottom six editions. But look, the Sabres have a plethora of new bottom six options. You've got Peyton Krebs, Jordan Greenway, Zach Benson, Jason Zucker, along with Abe Kubel and Sam Lafferty and
Malmstein.
So conceivably, there's your six, right? There's your six. You look at that, and you would think that makes a ton of sense. That there's your bottom six, and you can just kind of go from there. But here's the thing. Jason Zucker, obviously, previously in his career, top six forward. He's making $5 million. And I don't know. I'm a little nervous. He's a left winger, just like that player that they officially bought out the other day. Am I crazy for thinking that maybe, just maybe, they're thinking of putting him in the top six? That there's an outside chance. Not even outside, like a legitimate chance.
No, I think that might be exactly what they brought him in to do. You could tell with the money they gave him. Obviously, he was probably asking for a lot just because, he'd have to come here. But um, no, I do not think you're crazy for thinking that. And honestly, like I said, with each passing day, I just imagine him being on the second line or maybe even the first line. Maybe they move Paterka down to back to the kids line. Yeah, I don't know. But that's not what I hope for. I'm hoping for another move, a trade, something to give this roster a little more juice because we need it. Not only that, we need another right-handed defenseman, but we'll get to that later.
I would not be surprised at all. I will say I do really like the signing. I mean, he can play up and down the lineup. Kevin said that. Lindy said that to Kevin. So I do really like it. If someone's struggling, he can move up, someone can move down. I guess one of the reasons why I think he will only be a middle six player for us, or at least I hope, and maybe lean towards that third line role more, is like Jonas said, we were interested in him last year, and there wasn't a spot in the top six for him last year. So he would have been a third liner, pre-Quinn injury, of course, assuming we were interested in him before Quinn got hurt. Obviously that was like at the draft, so maybe it was after. But if they were interested in him, pre Quinn injury, he would have been a third liner. So at least I think that's how they value him as more of a middle six guy, hopefully a third liner. But I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if he might be our biggest addition of the offseason, and that's not it's not good. Not good
It's not
enough.
good.
Yeah, you know, I, because I alluded to it. So today's a good day for Kevin Adams, and Jason Zucker is a great pickup, and he's your best pickup of the day. He cannot be your best pickup of the offseason. If you walk into training camp, like seriously, think about this. You're in a 13-year playoff drought. You just bought out one of the most beloved players on the team, who was a top 6 player. If you walk into training camp and Jason Zucker was your answer to ending a drought and filling a need in the top 6, that is some Michael Frolik-esque roster construction. Like that can't be good enough, right? Like if you go by offseason with Kevin Adams, biggest offseason addition in his first offseason. Taylor Hall, pretty good. The season after, Ilya Lyubushkin, Eric Comrie. How about last year? What was his biggest offseason addition? Connor Clifton.
Yeah, Connor Clifton.
If you want to argue Eric Johnson, okay, go ahead.
Those are the only two, pretty much.
And if you nail the hat trick and Jason Zucker is your best addition, like, I'm sorry, even the most, I like to think that we're kind to Kevin Adams on here, right? Compared to
Yeah.
a lot of Doomer fans.
You mean all of our fans? Because today it's been ridiculous. It's all of our fans.
It's been a bad 72, 96 hours on the Bird app.
People are saying we're tanking. I saw a tweet saying someone's like, "Yeah, we're tanking and Terry's going to sell the team." And then someone replied and was like, "There's been no indication of him selling the team and us tanking." I don't know what you're talking about.
But even those people, they will start to be proven right, because you cannot do that. You just can't. And it's like I look at that lineup and it's like there's no, they can't be done adding. There's no way.
Juice. There's no juice.
It's not there's no juice. Like,
there's not enough.
Like I've said before, like that lineup in my mind, like would it still compete for a playoff spot? I think so. But that's not enough.
No.
That's not enough. Look at all the teams that got better today. Are they screwed long term? Sure. But you can't
keep thinking down the road.
Again.
You can't keep thinking down the road too.
Keep chasing. Like everybody knows. Everybody sees this. And this is why, like, Kevin Adams did this to himself by not making an addition on draft weekend. Today would have been so much better received. So much better received. This is one of their best free agency days. Man, I struggle to say ever, but
it is ever. We've had no good free agency signings in our franchise history.
It definitely wasn't last. I mean, in the Eichel era, definitely, because even the Taylor Hall edition, overshadowed by Cody Eakin and other pieces added to that amazing roster.
I mean, the jury's still out.
Botterill never had a July 1st as good as this. Neither did Tim Murray, really. So you're going back to the Darcy days, and I don't know. I just, in my mind, like, this would be a real solid, like, think about it. You fixed, like, quote unquote fixed, because we'll see if it translates on the ice, but you fixed your bottom 6 in essentially one day. Even if you take the Malenstein trade out of it, you still have 6 players to play in your bottom 6. That's a good day. But it doesn't matter if your best bottom 6 addition, Jason Zucker, is catapulted up to the top 6. Because then you're stuck with, I mean, look, I like the makeup of the group, but that group's not going to score. Zucker's your only scorer in that group. Like, that's why you kind of need him in there. He's the only guy with an ounce of scoring touch right now. Unless Benson takes a huge jump his second season.
I mean, I think the jury is still out on how this free agents class performs. I'm glad that they stayed away from the big contracts. So I think that's just a win in my book right off the rip. But and I think we did improve in the bottom six, but again, it's all going to come down to how they perform on the ice when the season comes around. So I don't want to, put a stamp on this and say this is our best free agency class in a long, long, long time. I mean, the bar for that's pretty
I
low.
was gonna say
So it
that's not
very,
saying much, so it's
yeah,
not that
exactly.
crazy.
Yeah, exactly. It's not saying much, but still, you never know with this team. But yeah, you can't catapult Jason Zucker into the top six. It's not gonna work. All right, you're plugging the wrong guy into the wrong spot on the roster, and you need the juice for that bottom six. So you're absolutely right.
I wouldn't say it wouldn't work, because I think during the year he'll be put up there at times. It's just there's better options,
Hmm.
I think.
Yeah, I'm not saying it wouldn't work at all. I mean, there could be some good chemistry up there, but I think with everything that's still going on in this organization, with all the picks and prospects we have, and all the roster players we have now, it's like, dude, just go out there and overpay a little bit, like for a trade. Maybe even if it is for a guy on an expiring contract. Like I'm still on the Nikolai Ehlers train. Like if you can get a guy like that in the system, I don't even care if it's for 1 year because if you could perform well, maybe, snag a few playoff games here and there, you could turn this entire thing around in over the course of 1 year and you won't have to overpay next year in free agency. I mean, maybe a little bit because, state taxes and all that and Florida's getting the discounts, but
Huge topic of discussion recently.
you won't have the stigma of going to Buffalo for your career to die. You won't have the fear of, players not wanting to sign with you. Or I'm sure Kevin Adams has had a really difficult time this offseason, and it's proved it so far. He's been out there trying to make these trades and people are asking for too much. He's not willing to budge on certain things, and that's the sign of a good GM, but at a certain point, you got to just, you got to sweeten the deal somehow. You got to get this thing over the finish line and hopefully soon, because again, to reiterate, with each passing week, this fan base is just going to grow more restless. The patience is going to wear out quicker in the season if they don't get off to a hot start. This could turn really quick. And if they don't add anyone via trade, I would say you start warming up Kevin Adams' seat like right now. Like
It's a failure of an
starting.
offseason.
Yes,
It's a failure.
absolutely. And
It's 100% a failure.
we said going into this offseason, if he doesn't do anything, it's a complete failure. And he hasn't made he's done things, but he hasn't made the big signing yet. Or the big trade, the big move, whatever you want to call it. But he knew that, especially from seeing how the team performed last season. So he knows what he needs to do, and we know what he needs to do. So if he doesn't get it done, start warming the seat now because, we could be in for a regime change this time next year.
It wouldn't be a regime change, I think. Karmanos is right up. There you go.
What you think Karmanos just moves into the GM spot and Adams is fired?
Yeah, I do.
Fair enough.